Welcome to the channel, everybody. Today we're talking about something you don't usually associate with the Olympics: death. We all know the Olympics are about pushing the limits of human potential, about achieving greatness. But there's a dark side to that pursuit, a risk that most of us never have to face. We're diving into some of the most tragic moments in Olympic history, the stories of athletes who lost their lives in pursuit of their dreams. These are stories of incredible dedication, unbelievable talent, and the heartbreaking reality that sometimes, even when you give it your all, things can go terribly wrong. So let's go back to 1912, the Stockholm Olympics. Picture this: it's the marathon, the ultimate test of human endurance. Francisco Lázaro, a Portuguese carpenter, he's in it to win it. This guy, he trained by running from his job to his house in full work clothes. Talk about dedication, right? But here's the thing: Stockholm in the summer, it gets hot, like really hot. And this was way before Gatorade, folks. They didn't understand hydration like we do now. Lázaro, he's pushing himself to the limit, but the heat, it's relentless. He collapses during the race. Collapses, man. They rush him to the hospital, but it's too late. He dies the next day. Turns out he was severely dehydrated, probably had heat stroke. It was a wake-up call, man. Made everyone realize just how dangerous these extreme conditions could be for athletes. The marathon, a grueling 26.2 miles, has always been a test of physical and mental endurance. But back in 1912, the understanding of sports science was rudimentary at best. Athletes like Francisco Lázaro relied on sheer willpower and basic training methods, often unaware of the critical importance of hydration and nutrition. Lázaro's story is a poignant reminder of the human spirit's resilience and the lengths to which athletes will go to achieve their dreams. He wasn't just running a race, he was chasing a dream, representing his country on an international stage. His dedication was unparalleled, training in his work clothes, running through the streets of Lisbon, day in and day out. But the summer of 1912 in Stockholm was unforgiving. The heat was intense, and the marathon route was challenging, with its undulating terrain and lack of shade. The athletes were pushing their bodies to the brink, and the lack of proper hydration only exacerbated the situation. Medical knowledge at the time was limited. The concept of sports drinks and electrolyte balance was non-existent. Athletes were often left to their own devices, relying on water stations that were few and far between. Lázaro's collapse was a tragic consequence of these harsh conditions, and the lack of understanding of the human body's needs during extreme physical exertion. Today, we have a much better understanding of the importance of hydration, nutrition, and proper training. Modern athletes have access to advanced sports science, hydration strategies, and medical support. The tragic story of Francisco Lázaro serves as a stark reminder of how far we've come in ensuring the safety and well-being of athletes. As we watch marathon runners cross the finish line today, we can appreciate the advancements in sports science and the lessons learned from the past. Francisco Lázaro's legacy lives on, reminding us of the importance of preparation, resilience, and the human spirit's unyielding quest for greatness. Fast forward to 1960, the Rome Olympics. Cycling, a sport that demands not just physical endurance but mental fortitude. Athletes train for years, pushing their bodies to the brink, all for that fleeting moment of glory. The Rome Olympics was no different, showcasing the pinnacle of human endurance and spirit. It's a brutal sport, man. Pushing your body to the absolute limit where every muscle screams for relief, but the mind pushes on. The cyclists in Rome were no strangers to this agony. They fought for every second, every inch of the track, knowing that the difference between victory and defeat could be a mere heartbeat. Knut Jensen, a Danish cyclist, was among these warriors. He had trained tirelessly, dreaming of Olympic glory, but dreams can sometimes turn into nightmares. In the middle of a race, under the scorching sun, Jensen's body gave out. He collapsed, a stark reminder of the sport's unforgiving nature. They rushed him to the hospital, hoping for a miracle. The medical team worked frantically, but despite their best efforts, Jensen died later that day. It was a tragic end to a promising athlete's journey, but the story didn't end there. What came next would shock the world. The autopsy revealed a dark secret. Traces of amphetamines were found in his system. Amphetamines, man. These were drugs that could push the human body beyond its natural limits, but at a terrible cost. Jensen's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a wake-up call. It showed traces of amphetamines in his system. Amphetamines, man. This revelation sent shockwaves through the sports community. It wasn't just about pushing your limits. This was about cheating death. Athletes were risking their lives for a chance at glory, and Jensen's death was the grim proof of that. This wasn't just about pushing your limits, this was about cheating death. Jensen's death, it blew the lid off the use of performance-enhancing drugs in sports. It was a dark secret, something people knew was going on but didn't want to talk about. The pressure to win, to be the best, had driven athletes to dangerous extremes. It blew the lid off the use of performance-enhancing drugs in sports. It was a dark secret, something people knew was going on but didn't want to talk about. Jensen's death forced the world to confront this uncomfortable truth. The lengths some athletes would go to for gold were now out in the open, and it wasn't pretty. Something people knew was going on but didn't want to talk about. Jensen's death, it forced everyone to confront the dark side of winning, the lengths some athletes would go to for gold. The media frenzy that followed was relentless. Reporters, analysts, and sports officials were all drawn into the conversation, each with their own take on the scandal. It forced everyone to confront the dark side of winning, the lengths some athletes would go to for gold. Press conferences were held, investigations were launched, and the integrity of sports was called into question. The world watched as the facade of fair competition crumbled, revealing the harsh reality beneath. The lengths some athletes would go to for gold. The tragedy of Knut Jensen became a turning point, a moment that forced the sports world to take a hard look at itself. It was a sobering reminder that the price of performance could sometimes be far too high. 1992, Albertville Winter Olympics. We're talking speed skiing, one of the most dangerous sports out there. I mean, you're practically flying down the mountain. Nicolas Bochete, a Swiss skier, he was one of the best. But here's the thing about the Olympics, it's not just the competition that's dangerous, it's everything around it. Bochete, he's doing a training run, just getting ready for his big moment. He's coming down the mountain, full speed, and then bam, he collides with a snow grooming machine. Can you believe that? A freak accident. They airlifted him to the hospital, but he died on the way. It was a stark reminder, man, that even with all the safety measures in the world sometimes, it's just not your day. 1964 Innsbruck Winter Olympics. Luge, man. Talk about an adrenaline rush. You're lying on your back, feet first, flying down an ice track at insane speeds. Kazimierz K. Skrzypecki, a British-Polish luger, he lived for that thrill. But luge, it's a dangerous sport, and the track at Innsbruck, it was known to be particularly treacherous. K. Skrzypecki, he's doing a practice run, pushing his limits, when he loses control. He's ejected from the luge, slams into a metal pole. It's a brutal reminder of the risks these athletes take. His death, it sparked a lot of debate about safety in these high-speed sports. I mean, how fast is too fast? When does the pursuit of glory become reckless? 2010, Vancouver Winter Olympics. Another luge tragedy. The world watched in anticipation as athletes from around the globe gathered to compete in one of the most prestigious sporting events. The air was filled with excitement and hope, but beneath the surface there were concerns about the safety of the luge track. Nodar Kumaritashvili, a young Georgian luger, he was living his dream, competing on the world's biggest stage. For Nodar, this was the culmination of years of hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. He had trained tirelessly, pushing his limits to be among the best in the world. His family and friends back home were filled with pride and anticipation, eagerly awaiting his performance. But just hours before the opening ceremony, tragedy struck. The festive atmosphere was shattered by the news that would send shockwaves through the sporting community and beyond. The excitement turned to sorrow as the world learned of the horrific accident. Kumaritashvili, he's on a practice run, pushing for a fast time, when he loses control at the final turn. This was a moment that no one could have anticipated, a split second that changed everything. The final turn, known for its difficulty, proved to be treacherous. This turn, it was known to be tricky, super fast. Athletes had expressed concerns about its safety, but the warnings went unheeded. The speed and complexity of the turn required precision and control, and any mistake could be catastrophic. Kumaritashvili, he's going almost 90 miles per hour when he's thrown from his luge, slamming into a steel pole. He died instantly. The impact was so severe that it left no chance for survival. The scene was one of devastation, a stark reminder of the dangers inherent in the sport. The worst part? Many people believed his death could have been prevented. Experts and fellow athletes had raised concerns about the track's design and safety measures, but those concerns were not adequately addressed. The tragedy sparked a debate about the responsibilities of event organizers and the importance of athlete safety. The The track, it was criticized for being too fast, too dangerous. The design pushed the limits of what was considered safe, and many felt that it prioritized spectacle over the well-being of the athletes. The outcry was immediate and widespread, with calls for a thorough investigation and accountability. Kumaritashvili's death, it led to major changes in luge, new safety regulations, and a renewed focus on preventing these kinds of tragedies. The legacy of his sacrifice became a catalyst for change, ensuring that future generations of athletes would compete under safer conditions. His memory lives on, not just as a reminder of what was lost, but as a beacon of hope for a safer future in the sport he loved. Look, these stories, they're tough to hear, but they're important. They remind us of the incredible risks these athletes take, the sacrifices they make in pursuit of their dreams. We're talking about pushing the human body to its absolute limit, and sometimes, tragically, those limits are crossed. These athletes, they were more than just competitors. They were people with families, with dreams, with passions. Their deaths, they left a hole in the hearts of their loved ones and sent shockwaves through the sporting world. We honor their memory, their dedication, and their contributions to the world of sports. Thank you for watching, and hey, if you found this video insightful, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and let me know what you think in the comments.